take a chance on yourself. Take a chance on the fact that you are authentic enough to draw people's attention without having to sound like someone else. That you don't have to try and mimic someone else's voice. And knowing who you are and embracing that for everything that it is.
Welcome to the McCove Mindset Podcast. I am Kevin McCove, and today our guest is going to be my good friend, multi-platinum selling songwriter, Martin Sutton. He's written for the Backstreet Boys, Celine Dion, LeAnn Rimes. The list continues to go on. He just did the song for the World Cup. I'm really hoping that you find some value in the conversation that we had today. And if you did find value in it, feel free to share it, comment, let me know what you think, and press that subscribe button. I'll see ya. I super appreciate you taking out some time to chat with me. Really appreciate it. And honestly, it's not just you taking out the time to chat with me. It's you taking the time to also just like be a mentor and a friend to me. Because when we met, man, I was like sad. I think that's like the only way to put it. Like pandemic time, when we met, I was just like, wow, what is going on with life? And I had just had a baby, so I was stressed out. And it's like, you have a baby during the pandemic. Congratulations to you, but for your baby on the way. But at least it won't be a pandemic baby. Yeah, and you kind of came in and just were so giving of like knowledge. And it was nice to find a community of people. Like I felt like you had assembled this community of people who were all just very interested in giving back to other people, giving back to their communities, giving back to other songwriters. And that was like such a magical thing to be a part of at that particular moment in time in my life. So yeah, I wanted to say thank you and welcome. Welcome to the McCove Mindset Podcast.
It's a real pleasure. I love talking to you, Kevin. The most special thing for me about the community of not only students but mentors and coaches in the Songwriting Academy is that we all learn from each other. And I think the day you ever say, "Oh, I know enough now," then just go do something else. Just don't do music anymore, because you have to have that approach of what else can I learn. So equally, I've learned from you. I've learned a ton of stuff from you and from the other mentors as well. And
From
it's
me? You learned something from
yeah,
me?
yeah, yeah. No shit. Yeah, your business mindset is incredible, man. And it's just sort of opened me up to a load of different things. And I love the way that you've got that entrepreneurial kind of approach to it. And by that, I don't mean, hey, how much money can we make out of this or that? It's about how can we make something work. You've got a problem solver's mindset. And, I believe I do too. I do Sudoku
You definitely do.
puzzles for joy. To every night I lie in bed and do Sudoku things to send me to sleep, because I love solving problems. And I think that as a songwriter, as songwriters, we're problem solvers. As producers, we are, and as people in the music business, we're problem solvers too. And it's more that kind of thing of, well, how do I exist in this space? How do I make this my life? Make it enjoyable. You've got to be pragmatic and say, well, how do I make money at this, as well as how do I love doing what I do? And the balance between the two is crucial, to get the balance right between it. So you're doing what you love, but you also have a good understanding of this isn't just a hobby, this isn't just a plaything, that you want it to be a serious thing. And I always say, treat it like treat every songwriter, producer, artist should treat what they do like a startup business, and be prepared to invest time and money and thought and love and care into something that they may not see immediate results from. We've spoken a lot about this, Kevin, and I think you're a brilliant exponent of it.
Thank you. You have the Songwriting Academy, which is incredible. And for listeners who are listening, I want you to talk about what the Songwriting Academy is and what it provides to, where I'm a mentor. I'm a mentor of the Songwriting Academy. It's a great thing. Is that something that you think a lot of mentees are missing is like the part of the mind that says, how do I begin to really do this? Like, not the creative portion, but the execution portion.
I think it's all of it, to be honest with you. For many years before the Songwriting Academy, I was meeting, and I was a newbie in the business myself, and then after I'd had success, I was meeting newbies and listening to songs, and I started doing just a wee bit of teaching, and then I started the academy, and what I was seeing was that the difference between people after they've even just after they've spent time working alongside and listening to and getting advice from mentors like yourself, like the entire team. I mean, you know that what an incredible team they are of crack songwriters,
Yeah.
producers, music business experts. They're all still doing it as well. They're all still successful now. But even just spending time listening and talking and being around those mentors, I see a massive difference. Oh, wow, nice product placement there. I see a massive, massive difference um, between between writers that are still trying to do stuff by themselves. This is a really, really tough business to do anything by yourself, to create by yourself without any kind of advice on whether it's any good. I mean, I think if we took a poll of people out there that were listening to this who have ever wondered, are my songs actually any good or not? Do they have what it takes to be successful in the music business? You'd probably be looking at like, 95 to 100% of them have all thought that at some point, and quite rightly so. But it's the other side of it as well. It's not only knowing whether your songs are good enough or not, but it's also knowing how to approach the business, how to approach people, how to get your music out there, how to get yourself out there.
Well, how did you do that? Not to like cut you off, not to cut you off, but like how? Because that's like the meat, right? That's what somebody wants to know. If they're in that spot, they're like, "Well, how did you figure it out?"
I did it by problem solving. Picture this. I'm standing at the bottom of a well. Okay, an empty well. I'm standing at the bottom of this well thinking, I need to be up there where all of the pro songwriters are. That's where I need to be. How do I get there? Now, I'm looking up there and I'm shouting up at the pro songwriters saying, "Hey, will you help me?" And this was, by the way, this was way before the internet even existed. So this was all done like talking to people and sending them physical things, and I was sending cassettes and then CDs to songwriters that were successful in the business, saying, I'd love to work with you, and getting just very polite rejections, but rejections nonetheless. So I'm standing at the bottom of the well thinking, how do I get up there with all of the songwriters that are having a load of success? And you can't just jump out of a well like that. So what do? Okay, well, the well hasn't got exactly smooth sides. So what you do is you put one foot about 12 inches up on one side, and then you launch up and you lift your other foot up a little bit and you climb diagonally out of the well like this. And for me, what that represented was working with the people at my shoulder and looking at the people that would work with me and that I enjoyed their company, and I would work with them and we would have a great time, and I would get them put the most into it and get the most out of it. And some of them would say, "Hey, you should work with so and so, my co-writer that worked on this." And so you suddenly go, "Oh, that's a little bit higher up the ladder." You never forget the people you work with. But you go, oh, okay, and you work with that person. And if you bring something of value to that table, then they say, oh, you should work with this person. Let's do a three-way together. And so you start sort of, gradually, 12 inches at a time, you climb out that well, and eventually you're near the
That's
top.
gradual.
That, I'll tell you what, somebody once said to me, the best bit of advice I ever got about the business is the slower the ascent, the slower the descent. You know, just take your time to learn your place in the business and how it goes. I'd been trying to write with Pam Shane, who's a dear friend of mine, and Pam had very politely refused to write with me in the early days because they didn't really get my stuff, and quite rightly so. It wasn't very good. And as I'm climbing up and working with different people, not only am I climbing up the networking ladder, but guess what? My songwriting's getting better. I'm learning more as I go because I'm emptying my cup so other songwriters can fill it with their stuff, you know. Um, and and eventually I sort of like was working my way up, and somebody that I was working with said to Pam Shane, "You should work with Martin. He's really good." And she did. And we've been friends ever since. We've had songs recorded by all kinds of artists, including the Backstreet Boys and a bunch of others. And we still write together whenever we can. Pam, by the way, went on to write Genie in a Bottle and have global success with that. A load of other hit records. She's a huge songwriter, and we're still very best friends and we still work together. And that is what I mean by I say to all of the emerging songwriters, artists, producers that come through the academy, don't try and just go for that really the fruit at the top of the tree, you know, because everybody's trying to do that, and they're still working with the people that they came up with. So work with the people at your shoulder. Look to your shoulder. Never ever discount how valuable those people are standing at your shoulder, because in a year's time, they could have written the next genie in a bottle, as Pam did. And then you're friends with them already. So be patient, treat it like a marathon, not a sprint. Build relationships, nurture them, water them, love them, care for them, and they will look after you in the long run. There's no shortcut. And if it is, that means you have a quick rise and then a quick descent afterwards. Take the slow rise and it will keep you there for the rest of your life. It's the unexpected stuff. That's the best bonus of being in a music business. The unexpected surprises, the highs you can't buy.
That is a great segue into this competition. The company that's sponsoring this podcast, Joyburst, is doing a Joyburst National Talent Show. So the Joyburst National Talent Search, it's like running from February 15th to March 15th. Will be you upload your open verse to TikTok or Instagram or YouTube Shorts, and then there's a voting period from March 15th to like April 1st. And, you know, if you are in the top 5, then that brings you on to like the reward part, right? And the rewards are it's a $10,000 cash prize and a publishing deal, which has, you know, some sync opportunities attached to it as well. I know that there are so many independent artists who I myself was one of them. I auditioned for The Voice. You know, I got called back 3 times. I auditioned for The Voice 5 times. I got called back 3 times. What I felt in that moment was like, this may be it. Like, I'm getting called back for The Voice. I don't think that I was in that moment prepared even for what could happen. Or I wasn't prepared when I went to the audition for, well, what happens if they ask you to sing more songs? What happens if, you know, because I'm like, oh, I got my song and I'm going to go in, I'm going to sing my song. And then after that, it's like, oh, well, now they want 3 other songs and they want songs in different styles. And how are you going to perform them? What advice or insight, foresight do you see when it's like, hey, look, there's a competition. How do you prepare for the competition? And then if you are fortunate enough to get to the finals of the competition, how do you keep yourself prepared so that if success happens, you can ride the wave instead of having this moment that lifts you up and then it's kind of like, I wasn't ready for it.
Well, the short answer, which will be followed by a long-winded answer, is 4 words, which is know who you are. Just those 4 words, know who you are. I see so many people looking at an opportunity and trying to mold themselves to fit that opportunity. Sometimes it's writing for a brief for a major label artist. Like we just ran a song camp at the weekend. So this collaborative camp where we give people live artist briefs that they can work to. So people like big artists around the world are looking for songs, and we give them these briefs and we give them guidance while they do the collaboration. Okay, so these are the song camps that we do. And so there was the opportunity to write for Britney Spears. That's one of them. There was some huge English artists, Tom Grennan, Will Young. There was some top line opportunities. One of the bits of advice that I was given during that song camp is that, yes, have that in mind about, yes, you want to write a song for Britney, but don't try and crowbar and distort what you do to fit into a mold, because it won't work. How do I know this? Because I've done it too many times where I think, oh, I'm going to try and write a song. I remember trying to write a song for Tina Turner. And it's like, there I was as a guy in his what, the early 30s, a white guy in his early 30s trying to imagine that he knows what Tina Turner would want to sing about. It's like I couldn't have been further from who Tina Turner was and is. It was just madness. And I still see people doing it. And I say, please don't do that. Bear in mind at some point it might be nice to sort of like move what you do into that mold. But the most important thing is to write the song that is the best song. Just try and write the best song possible, because if you can then mold it, so just shape it afterwards, so you go, actually, we could make this Britney, then great. And you've got a great song that will fit into that brief. If not, you've got a great song anyway that you can pitch to a bunch of other artists. You haven't tried to shape something so it's only got one purpose. So the same goes for performers. I see a ton of performers mimicking people. Like when Adele came out, everybody was mimicking Adele the way she sang. When John Legend was at his peak, everybody was trying to sing the way John Legend did, and like distorting the vowels in the same way that he does, except it was authentic for him, but everybody else then tried to copy the way that he sang, right? And you know what I mean.
Right.
And
I know what you mean. I was a piano player. Like
there
I
you
was
go.
the guy on the
You were
piano
the
trying
guy,
to be
yeah.
John Legend. Yeah,
And
it was
and
me.
and you go, "Louvre," and you sort of like you change the vowel sounds and all of that stuff. And loads of people are trying to sing like with this gruff male kind of like pirate voice, that and I see people changing who they are to fit what they think people want. We already had John Legend. We already had Adele. The most important thing is to take a chance on yourself. Take a chance on the fact that you are authentic enough to draw people's attention without having to sound like someone else. That you don't have to try and mimic someone else's voice. And knowing who you are and embracing that for everything that it is. I work with someone right now who has got this beautiful little speech impediment, and I love it. And she doesn't give a damn about it, and it makes her who she is. And it's that authenticity that I love. I love character voices that are genuine. When I say know who you are, I mean find your voice. Know who you are as a vocalist if you are performing, as a creator, the songs that you love to write. Still make them the best that they can be, that will resonate with other people, but right from your heart for other people's hearts. Right from your heart, and then give them to the world. Let them out there. But it's got to come from you. And your voice has got to come from you, not from your memory of someone else singing.
After I heard you say that, I'd be like, you know what? If I'm trying to put myself in a position to win 10 grand, I'm gonna hit him up and see if he has any advice for how I should write this song. Bro, you're so good at articulating that we don't often put into words. Just like you feel it. There's a sense of like pride that I think musicians and songwriters, artsy people have, that we have around like it's magic. And explaining it like that helps to demystify it and say like, no, just pay attention. Like, pay attention to how you're feeling. Pay attention to how you're speaking. Pay attention to the words that you use when you want to convey a particular thing. it's really like it's all right there in front of us.
People rely too much on instant messages and not feeling each other's energy, resonance, and listening with the intention of understanding and feeling. Stephen Covey said this, people listen often with the intention of replying rather than the intention of understanding, but really, really absorb everything around you. Go out and listen to the birds, go out and listen to life, but most of all, listen to yourself and to other people and how they communicate their feelings, not their thoughts, how they communicate their feelings using the spoken word, and just put notes around that. Take those notes and turn them into songs, because what we're trading in here is feelings, not words or notes. We're trading in feelings. Music is what feelings sound like.
Well, I'm very grateful that when we met, you heard my feelings. That has created a space for like what 2 years later,
Hmm.
we're still able to converse with each other, and like I said, I really appreciate you. I really, I truly do. I learned so much from you, and you've given me an outlet too to just to really change so many other people's perspective on their careers, or maybe even the trajectory of their careers. It's been a blessing to be able to be a part of the Songwriting Academy and speak to different people and be able to share what I've learned and my knowledge and stuff and give it to someone. And that's really all because you heard my feelings. And I hope that whoever gets to hear your feelings the way you just express them in this conversation, I hope that it really resonates with them and that they're able to go forward and do something positive with their career and their life too.
Oh, thank you so much, man. I
I
really
appreciate you for
appreciate
being
it.
on, man.
Yeah, and I appreciate everything you've done for the students of the academy. It's like I know they how much they appreciate your advice and help. And long may we continue doing this, because the second wave of the sort of creativity that we have, it's like first of all we get to make music, and then we get to help other people that want to make music and that want to follow in the steps that we've taken. And I can tell everybody of any age right now, first of all, you're never too late, you're never too old, you're never from the wrong country, you're never from the wrong race, gender, culture, whatever it is. You're always in the right place doing exactly what you're doing, what you should be doing. If you feel that passion for music, just make it, and don't let anything stand in your way. Don't let any rejection stand in your way. Don't let anybody stand in your way, particularly yourself. Don't listen to those voices. Just make music for the sheer joy and the love of it, and watch what happens. It's a beautiful ride. Speaking from someone that came from absolutely nothing, singing for pennies, and to having a lifetime in music, and everything I have now is thanks to music. All of that's a bonus, because first and foremost, I got to make music for my life. Just an absolute privilege. And meeting people like you, Kevin, and being part of the academy is just a joy for me. So thank you.